So, if you're connected here tonight, it's mainly because you like to listen from our speakers. So let me just briefly introduce them to you before I give them the floor. Firstly, we have Riccardo Ocleppo. As I was saying initially, Riccardo is the founder at OPIT. He is also founder of Doc City. As many of you, especially if you are university students, you may know. I used to know Doc City even before I joined OPIT because I used the services. It's a global student platform. So Riccardo is an entrepreneur in the education sector. And then Fabio Moioli, who is our guest speaker for tonight. He's a leadership advisor at Spencer Stuart and a member of the Forbes Technology Council on AI. Fabio has also held some senior management positions in companies like Amazon, like Microsoft, Capgemini. So he's here connected tonight with us to share insight. So if you want to ask questions, feel free to do it through the chat, to raise your hand. Let's make it interactive. And at the end of course, the interview, the conversation between Riccardo and Fabio, will open the space to gather all your questions for them both. So without further ado, I'll leave the floor for Riccardo and well, enjoy the session.
What are the key moments in your career path that actually shaped you and what you heard today and inspired you to focus on artificial intelligence and digital transformation?
Thank you, Stefania. Thank you, Riccardo, for having invited me to this event. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Yes, so very briefly, my name is Fabio Moioli, and I've been working on, let's say, AI or related technologies from many different perspectives in my entire career. Let's say that I studied engineering a few years ago, quite a few years ago in Milano, Polytechnic, and then I began working at R&D of Ericsson in Sweden in a time where Ericsson and Nokia mobile phones were the leader in technology before iPhone and Apple and everything that came later. So it was really cutting edge. It was 98, 99. And at that time, so really almost 30 years ago, I began working on AI of that age that was called expert system. So I began working on expert systems that were the ancestor of the current AI again, almost 30 years ago. I continued working on this technology in many different places, organizations, in the United States, a little bit in Asia, in various locations. Then I became a part of the technology practice of McKinsey. I moved to Capgemini, where I was a vice president, again working on AI, digital, machine-to-machine, IoT, leading various business units. And then due to what I was doing on AI, Microsoft asked me to join them. I've been head of consulting of Microsoft in Italy. Then I became part of the European team. So I led the AI activities in many different other countries. And basically, I really work on a very large number of AI projects, a little bit everywhere, at least in Europe, especially in Europe, in EMEA, let's say, in all those years. Then when ChatGPT was released in November 2022, I stopped working on AI after so many years that I was working on this technology. And basically in the same month that everyone began talking about AI, even people that have never heard about it. And everyone started adding their LinkedIn profile that they were AI experts, just because maybe they have used the GPT for a couple of times. Again, I stopped working on AI directly. I joined Spencer Stuart, and in the last 2 years and a half, as part of the technology practice of Spencer Stuart, leading it in Italy, I've been basically selecting CEO, general manager, C-levels, both experts in AI, so chief technology, chief information officer, chief AI officer, so vertical experts for many different organizations in Europe, a little bit everywhere, really every industry and any kind of size of companies, for professional services, strategic firms, all kind of companies, as well as I've been involved in selecting general manager and C-suite profiles AI was not the main skill, but AI was becoming part of the skills required for that role. And that's what I've been doing in the last 2.5 years as a leadership advisor at Spencer Stuart. Again, focus a lot on EMEA, especially.
Oh, that's very interesting, and congrats for your path. So, like
Thank you.
myself, we are young, but not so young, right? So we experienced our entry into the job market when there was no AI, when I mean we were in the middle of the digitalization of the internet, of the mobile transition, right? I have the perspective, the perception that uh, since the release of ChatGPT and this huge growing awareness on AI, um, uh, like things started to move very fast on the job market, and how career were changing, were progressing, the skills that you needed, the shifts that are happening, the new roles that are being created, and the past roles that are being terminated. So you have a very influential LinkedIn profile. You have a very interesting newsletters with 25K plus subscribers, where you share a lot of interesting stuff on a weekly basis. So, what is your take? What is your perspective on the emerging roles, on the in-demand skills, on the major shifts that are happening on the job market today?
Yeah, let's say that I mean, it's a very big topic, Riccardo. So clearly there is not a simple answer, but I see many different trends ongoing right now in the job market. The first one is clearly AI entering a little bit everywhere, especially white collar kind of jobs, but really becoming per se pervasive everywhere. And basically, it's starting to replace maybe several tasks. Not often, it's not replacing jobs, but job activities. So specific tasks, especially the one that are easier to automate and maybe more routinary, more standardized. And again, sometimes I say that AI is not canceling jobs, but it's canceling job descriptions. It's not longer really well-defined job, and with AI, you can begin to do different activities that you are not able to do before, because with AI you may become able to execute tasks that need the skills, additional skill that you were not able to do before. And a few years ago, actually, I wrote an article for Forbes, again as part of the Forbes Technology Council, when I was saying that in the near future we will all become managers somehow. And this is actually happening now a few years after I wrote that article. Because right now, if you consider what is a good manager understands the client, understands what is the real need, and is able to frame it, is able to split it in different tasks, to delegate the task, the people reporting to him or to her, and then judge the result, filter the conclusion, elaborate on what has been done by the team. And this is actually what is needed with AI. With AI, you really need still to build the trust, to understand the content, and you are just delegating to AI agents. You're just delegating to technology instead of only delegating to people. But the typical traits of managers are the traits that are needed very often for working in these technologies. So it's kind of soft skill becoming more important, leadership skill becoming a little bit pervasive everywhere. It's a little bit becoming more important to have even horizontal skills instead of just having vertical expertise. Because vertical expertise is the one that is often easier to replace with AI. And also, everyone in any job, and I think we'll talk about it later today, needs to start having AI expertise. There is both a significant growth in the search of AI experts in these 2 years and a half. I really led with my team a large number of selections for AI expert, chief AI officer, chief data officer, chief information officer with an AI expertise. So lots of AI experts required and difficult to find. That's one part of the job market, new roles that are being designed, emerging roles. like, everything related to AI product management, AI interactive designer, governance, several roles related to AI governance, especially in big organization, and the need of data architect on, AI synthetic production, autonomous edge developer. So really lots of specific vertical jobs that just did not exist a few years ago. But then there is also this need of having some kind of AI literacy, some kind of data fluency, even in non-technical related jobs. In all the other C-suites, in all other managerial roles, and this is something very new that is starting to happen, even a little bit in boards. Not yet maybe in full-fledged, but also boards are starting to ask us to have non-executive directors that do have AI literacy, at least to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective, of course, and I actually want to dig deeper into what you just said. So today, and again, thanks for everybody for being here. We have like more than 150 participants, and they come from all types of backgrounds, right? They're tech people, they're non-tech people, they're professionals, and they're students. They come from Italy, they come from Europe, they come from Africa, they come from wherever in the world. They're younger, they're older. Um, and everyone is asking himself or herself uh, how AI is going to impact what I do today and how can I stay and become even more relevant maybe in the future. The very first question I have for you is actually to focus on the tech professionals. Like one thing that I've been hearing more and more is that like in 10 years from now, we won't have computer scientists or programmers anymore because AI will do that. But if on one side I see that AI is very good in generating code and in doing like debugging, in explaining and commenting the code, in like translating code from one language to another, it's still very, very hard for AI to build like context on wider code bases, in building best scalable architectures, in building security over these architectures. So what's your perspective on that? What's going to be the role of tech people in 10 years from now? And how can they keep differentiating themselves?
So I'm in daily contact with lots of friends, from Microsoft, where I come from, and from all other big technology players, from Salesforce, from Google, Amazon, all of them. I don't want to, I should make now a very long list, not to make any friends offended. I didn't mention that properly, but really, I'm in contact with all of them and with system integrator, with companies, and I can see the way software is being transformed using AI. I really see lots of companies, especially technology advanced companies like the one I just mentioned, but even system integrator, consulting, software kind of company, engineering kind of companies are already starting to transform the way they do software development using AI in a quite intense way, especially for testing, commenting code, code completion, code inspection. Lots of activities already are not automated but enhanced with AI. But at the same time, I think at least for a few years, for I think many years, will be still quite a relevant role for our human ingenuity. I mean, we are far from having AI writing code entirely on its own. And first of all, as I was saying also previously, AI is not really replacing jobs. So it's not replacing the entire software developer job, the entire data architect job. It's replacing, automating, augmenting specific tasks. He can write code to a certain extent. It's good to refactor the code. That's very good, actually. Refactoring the code stuff that AI is quite effective. It's amazing, usually super useful for generating test case, really useful for doing debugging when it's used by a software engineer which know how to use it. But for instance, he still struggle to do, system level thinking, designing the software. He's still not really able to create an architectural view of the software. Not really able to coordinate, cross team. Not able to do any product reasoning or any strategic product reasoning on the software. So it's very good for repetitive and low complex tasks. Coding tasks, really, really effective, but not for doing all these other activities. Doesn't have yet very strong content protection when you do software. So let's say there is still lots of space for human ingenuity. At the same time, if you are today in the middle of 2025, a software developer, a data architect, a technology expert that is not using AI, okay, well, you are a little bit outdated, or at least you should maybe reconsider your skill and do some training or really try to use this technology, and you will just find how marvelous or magic this technology can be in supporting what you do in making your job easier, more effective. So again, it's not canceling the software and the technology roles, it's transforming them. And then it's also creating new roles. Like again, I was mentioning before, I'm now involved in several chief AI officer selections with my team at Spencer Stuart. I'm working on several chief data and AI roles, again, with some difference with chief data, chief AI, depending on the company. And these are totally new roles that just did not exist before. So it's changing the technology roles a lot. I still think anyway that it is a good investment in your time if you are patient about it, to do STEM studies. So I think that still there is a good work expectation, a good trajectory if you study, information technology. If you want to become a data scientist, I think it's still a good profession. You can earn good money, but you must learn to do all these technology roles in a new way using the technology. And then again, some jobs probably are decreasing in importance, like testing. It's quite sure that the number of software testers is decreasing. So I would not, if I were a young student today, I would not dream, I would not bet everything on becoming, a software tester, because that's maybe not the right job moving forward. I would maybe put more focus on becoming an AI architect, data product engineer, these kind of roles. But again, I think it's still worth to do STEM studies today.
I perfectly see your point. On the other side, it may be that just as it is for like software developers, even for testers, it will not replace them. It will just make them more efficient.
Not all of them. Maybe you will need fewer testers. That's the reason.
Exactly.
You need fewer testers using AI, but then you have new jobs. So it's kind of rebalancing the jobs, the number of jobs in different subsectors of the technology domain.
No, thank you for the answer. And I'm actually going further from what you just said. We don't just need AI architects in the future, right? We will still keep needing lawyers, recruiters, psychologists, and like all kinds of professionals, right? We come up from from an age where if you were a lawyer, you didn't have to know anything about technology. You just were a lawyer. Then you started using technology, but you didn't know what was behind it. I personally believe that technology will be the language, the cross language between all the professions. So no profession will be immune to knowing what technology is about and the very basics behind it. And somehow the way we structured our degrees at OPIT incorporates this way of thinking. So we try to make our degrees as accessible as possible, just because we believe that everyone will need to learn these concepts. So how do you think that more traditional professionals, not non-tech professionals, will need to evolve and incorporate the skills through learning, or what's your take on that?
No, I think, Riccardo, that again, as I was sharing, more or less any profession, at least any profession in the business sector, maybe not nannies, not some caregiving role, but let's say all roles that are usually done in front of a PC or any way that use technology, all white collars type of job are really in a journey of becoming transformed by AI. And I think really that there is no profession that will not be impacted by AI. It's already happening. Like you are mentioning lawyers, and today I'm working to select an AI leader for one of the largest law firm in London. So one of my clients is a big law organization that is asked me to select a chief AI leader to help them transforming their business lawyer. And I'm conversating with some big four, some of the big four, tax and legal organizations, as well as advisory, but even tax and legal organizations to share with again some of the big four here in Italy and abroad how AI will transform their sector, their tax and legal organization, and discussing with them whether they should hire a chief AI officer and how the chief information officer they have will change this or have role using AI and be really transforming the business. So actually, lawyers, I'm having lots of conversation, even with small law firms or in Italy, with many of them about AI. So it's very true what you are mentioning. I mean, I use law just because you were using that example, but I could talk about consulting, executive recruiting, my own job, designer, any profession, even any business profession, but any roles in any company. And again, just talking about lawyers, because that's the one you are mentioning, I'm really having lots of conversation with law organization, a little bit everyone in Europe, and they see, we see several routine tasks done by lawyers, like contract review, due diligence, where AI is very powerful to reduce time spent on low value work, or anyway on activities that maybe they were not low value, but they are the one easier to be augmented with AI. And many companies are building AI tools, really vertical solution, many boutique and startup are investing, in leg tech, so building technology specific for the legal sector. I think at a certain point, even client expectation will go in that direction. I think that quite soon, if you are a lawyer and you see that the lawyer is not using AI, you will probably be surprised, and you will start wondering why your partner, your lawyer is not using AI. Maybe there is something wrong. Maybe it's not leveraging really the potential of today. And so then all lawyers will need to become some kind of legal technologies, combining legal judgment, legal expertise, lot of human ingenuity with AI tool mastery, AI fluency. And again, this is true for lawyers, but the same apply to consulting, strategy consulting, recruiting, designer, graphics, creative, whatever you want to choose as a profession. That's true everywhere. I think that again, AI fluency will be part of the basic the tool set for any profession. I'm not talking about coding, clearly. It's not that, if you are a lawyer, you need to be a good coder, a good software developer. You just need AI literacy. Especially, you need to be able to understand what AI can do, what AI cannot do. You should be able to evaluate different AI tools, how they integrate into your workflow. You should be able to ask the right question to get the right answer from AI tools. Again, for your profession, so for lawyers, not for AI at large in any sector, but if you are a lawyer, you should be able to do all of this for the lawyer kind of business. So it's kind of legal specific AI fluency, including everything that comes with strategic thinking with AI, from crafting and all of this. That's I think something that will happen to lawyers, but any profession, I mean, it's the same. I spoke a lot about lawyers just because it's the example that you selected, but you could have taken, I don't know, strategy consulting. I would have said very similar things.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for lawyers, just as gonna be tough for everyone else. So nothing special is lawyers.
It's fascinating because I'm meeting lawyers that were very far from technology until a few years ago, and some of them they are very smart people, very high IQ, so they are smart and they want to understand AI, what they can do with AI. So these are really smart people that still were very far from technology until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and now they are starting to realize that they have to become AI, not expert, but AI competent in their profession as well.
And my question is exactly that. So how do you get there? Because how you get there is through learning, of course, right? Um, what's your perspective on learning through this AI age? Like at OPIT, we have a very diversified audience of students, but it's very interesting to notice how many of them are actually working professionals with established jobs. Some of them even maybe on the right side of the map because they know about AI, they come from maybe an electronics or computer science background, and still they're going for longer style programs like bachelor degrees, master degrees, as a way to build that foundational knowledge that is going to be actually the point on which maybe you will have smaller bits of knowledge along the way. So
Yes, I think the first thing that I feel to share when it comes to AI is that it's important to use it, not only to study. I mean that with other kind of studies, probably you study for years, and then when you are competent, you start to apply it. If you are a doctor, you study for many years before you operate on a human being. It's not that you start with studying medicine and you do a trial. You do a survey and someone die and then you try because you are learning.
yeah.
For a long period, many years, and when you are super expert from a theoretical perspective, somehow you start to test, you start to act. With AI, I think you should have a different approach, meaning that while you can surely study AI from a theoretical perspective, attending courses, watching videos on YouTube, doing training, learning from experts, in that more theoretical way, and it's great. You have to do it. You should also really use it. You should really try to use it as a person, as a citizen, as an employer, as a company, as a general manager every day. For instance, I select also CEO, Chief Executive Officer. So I not only select in my role Chief Information Officer and Chief AI Officer, but I also select Chief Executive Officers and General Managers, so really the top of the pyramid. And usually I ask these people whether they've used the AI, which kind of AI they've used, and I try to test. For instance, a question that I always ask chief executive officers is which project they are doing to increase their data asset, to improve the quality of the data that the organization has. Because if you want to become an AI power organization, you must have really clear that the value of your AI is based on the value of your data. So probably you should have project to increase your top line, your revenue, project to increase your bottom line margin, and projects to increase your data asset for collecting data, for enriching data, for improving the quality of your data. And there are candidates, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, that are super smart in answering this question. There are chief executive officers that do not understand this question. That when I ask it, they look at me trying to understand what I want to know, because wait, what does it mean to improve the data asset of my organization? Some of them may even ask me what is a data asset. It's fully respectable today. It's okay, but it will not be okay in 5 or 10 years. Yeah. Because at that time, everyone will have probably have a different fluency on data and on AI. So the first thing is really whether you are a new graduate or a chief executive officer, use AI for real. Every day, try to use AI for any task that you do. When you do something, always think how I can do this job, how I can do this task in a different way using AI, whether you are analyzing a contract, you are writing an email, you are making a forecast, you are analyzing clustering for your clients, whatever you are doing, you are answering client mails, whatever you are doing, always think how I can do this using AI, and then if your company allow it, because there is some tool that protect you from data protection and ethical use, whatever, because surely you should not use open tool that you are not allowed to use in your company, and risk some data breach, some data leakage, and so protecting everything that must be protected when you use this technology. You should always think of how I can do something differently and try to use AI, but really use it. Then, in parallel, you can attend training, that are required to be paid because they are professional training, with teacher and faculty that deserve to be paid for the service that it's offering. You may, watch 3 YouTube videos that are, nice and maybe good to learn something, to be a little bit up to date. You can listen to podcasts, you can attend conferences. Maybe if you are lucky, you can find a mentor and someone who is expert. You can reach out. You can attend an event like the one that OPIT has organized that you are attending right now. So whatever. So there are lots of learning opportunities today, and it's great, but always use it as well. It's not enough to attend events, listen to podcasts, and read books. You should really use it as well. That's what I think is the best way to really become AI fluent after a while.
Yeah, I fully agree. And one thing is for sure that learning will not just be confined to a specific moment in your life as it was in the past. It is a thing that you will keep doing throughout your life. In a very idealistic view of the future, AI will increase productivity. You might still get paid the same for a lower amount of time, and you can then spend that extra time that you will then have on learning and keep improving. That's a very idealistic.
Yeah, no, it's true what you say, Riccardo. I think that AI can be really powerful, but it gives you a lot of flexibility, can really enrich your job, but then it's up to you as a person, and it's up to you as an organization. It's up to us as a society, if you want to have a larger perspective, to use it for the best. Like if you today have a job, whatever is in your organization, what you do today, and it's you have a job description that tells you what you have to do today. That's your job description. And probably in many cases, you can start to have some of those activities that you are doing today replaced with AI or done in a faster way using AI, partly automated. So you may decide to work fewer hours. And if that's what you need, what you want to do, if your company agree, you could say, instead of working 8 hours, I work 4 hours with AI. And that's a journey. It's a potential opportunity. Why not? You could decide, instead of working 4 hours, to work 6 hours. So 2 hours fewer than before, but not 4, because you increase quality. So you raise your bar. You want to use AI to increase the quality of what you are producing. and that's a different mix. But you can also keep on working 8 hours if that's what your employer requires you to do. If that's what you enjoy doing, because maybe you have automated the part of the job that you enjoy the least. So now you are even happier to do your job, and maybe to get a good salary. The deal with your employers that you work 8 hours, not 6, not 4, whatever. You can do not only things with a higher quality, but you can also do more things. So it's true that you have a job description, but maybe there are, like, if you are an accountant, maybe with AI you can evaluate trends, potential opportunities, comparing. You can do a lot of consulting activities around your data that you did not have the skills to do those activities before, but using AI, you kind of acquire adjacent skills that you do not have today. So you expand your job descriptions, you expand what you do, and you are not having your job replaced by AI, but you are having your job transformed by AI. That's very different perspective indeed.
Yes, thank you, Fabio. I had one more question, but I am jump straight to the question by the attendees. So a very interesting one is made by Umberto, who is a university researcher in computer science in Italy. But what he says is that it resonates a lot with your way of thinking that we will be much more managers in the tomorrow's world. We will need to have a broader understanding, think wider. But what he also says is that today is on the job market, what is rewarded is actually specialization. So is there a shift between, not a shift, but a delay between what is happening and what the companies today are still looking for and rewarding?
Yeah, you find Umberto and Riccardo for sure lots of variety in the market. I mean, in my job, I really work with a very large number of organizations, and I can see clients that are super advanced, and I have clients that are not that advanced actually, and that is true in the same sector with the same size. So it's not that big companies are much advanced, the small companies are lagging behind, and it's not the contrary. Then it's clear that if you want to make an average, maybe large organizations are a little bit more advanced than you would expect, and there are maybe more small and medium enterprises that are lagging behind, that are not really up to date, that are not understanding what's happening. There is some truth in it, but at the same time, there are small companies that are super advanced, really, really advanced, even if they are small, companies in the valley, because it all depends from the founder, from the people. Like, for instance, I can share with you, I think it's a public search, so I can mention it. For instance, one of the probably most interesting, entertaining almost kind of a search that I did recently was for chief technology office for Radio Dimensore Suolo, RDS, for the music, radios, and they are super advanced. They are very, because the proprietary, the owner of Radio Dimensore Suolo, Massimiliano Montefusco, is a big innovator, is very advanced. I mean, each time I go to an AI event as a speaker, I meet Massimiliano, who is again the owner of FDS, and we speak about AI. So, it all depends from the person. Maybe you will not expect RDS to be open AI. They're not open AI, but they are super advanced in the way you use AI due to the founder, the owner of the company. And maybe there are other companies as small as RDS that I work with that are super advanced, and others that are really lagging behind. And actually, I should also consider that all the companies I work with are anyway the ones that are a little bit more advanced at the end, because at least they spoke with me. So they felt the need to speak with Spencer Stuart about AI. And I'm sure there are many others that are not speaking about AI at all, unfortunately. But there is really lots of variety. And I agree that many companies are still probably searching for old kind of profiles. Even probably companies search for chief information officers that do don't have any AI expertise, and that's a little bit crazy in 2025. But I'm sure it's happening, but still, in many cases.
Yes, I fully agree with you, and I also want to add something that, um, to me, it's what I see. It's perfectly fine that there is this delay because I mean everything is already going so fast. But if it was immediate, this change, there would be a huge disruption without the adequate time to adapt for
Yes.
people to change.
No, I agree. I agree. Actually, one of my main concern, actually, Riccardo, is
Mhm.
that there is not enough delay, meaning that it's happening too. My main concern, actually, is that this transformation is happening not too fast, but with such a pace that our society, our education, our government, our is not able to be up to date. And I think that's the main risk that is happening so fast that many people are not ready to face it. And that's the main risk. That's my main concern. It's not Terminator today, not the AI conquering the world. You never know. I mean, we should also protect us from the scenario, but I'm much more afraid from us not understanding and not preparing for the big shift in the job market in society that this technology will bring.
I agree, and there is big risk for the companies to focus more on the cost savings and automations that AI can bring instead of like, maybe leveraging
Yes.
silent opportunities. Uh, Stefano is also making another point. So um, uh, you described a scenario where you learn how to adapt to AI, but what is the scenario in which you actually lead the AI innovation, whether it is from a tech perspective or from a tech adoption or the changing of procedures? Because um, uh, my point of view is that, as it is today, whoever takes the harder and the tougher route will still like have a level up compared to the others. So my question is, do you see a future where we will all be leveled up, or like where will you build the upside? Uh,
Yes. I think that somehow if you take the Gaussian of performance of any profession, AI shifted to the right. AI takes the lower part of the Gaussian of any performance of any profession and increase it. Because if you are a very bad lawyer, if you are really bad in writing, whatever, with AI you become so much better. If you are bad in writing emails and in communicating, use AI and you become decent, you become okay. So you take the lower bar, the lower part of the performance, and you really shift it to the right. That's true. Then the risk is that if you use AI too much, you are also taking the top part of the Gaussian and you shift it instead to the left. Because if you use it AI even too much, those that let's take writing. Many of us will not be able to write a great book. And with AI, all of us can write a good article, can write an okay perspective. You can use AI to write an article which is okay, which is well written, well structured, and probably much higher quality than what most of us would have been able to write if we are not writer. If you are baricco, if you are a real important writer, a great journalist, and you start using AI because it's so convenient, you will instead lower your quality because you are much better than what AI can produce, but AI is faster. So what you should do is be careful not to use AI to replace the upper part. And what is really remain is that even if AI shift the Gaussian to the left, right? Still, you may have very different kind of performance because if you are Baricco again or any other white that you lost, whatever you choose the white that you like the most, and maybe why not use AI to judge to work? Maybe you could even increase your quality even further, or anyway be faster, or have some recommendation at least for the title of the book, or you could use it even if you are the best writer in the world. You could still use AI to improve it a little bit, but still you will be so much better than the average person using AI. I think that the trick is really using AI not to replace but to augment. It's really use AI, but then put your effort, your human ingenuity, lots of effort to raise the bar. Because if you use AI and you just stop there, you will be at the bottom of the performance because you will be at the lowest level of performance, which is everyone using AI. Then if you are not even using AI, you have another problem because you are even below what everyone is able to achieve. But if you're using AI and you stop there, you are just a commodity, like everyone else. So you should put all your effort, your human ingenuity, to be a little bit above of what AI can do on itself, using AI, not to be below the bottom line, let's say.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Fabio. I guess we're running a bit late, so I would thank you again for being here today with us. It was a great discussion. Thank you, everyone who stayed with
It was
us.
a pleasure, Riccardo and Stefania and everyone. And again, as Riccardo shared, if some of you uses LinkedIn, please feel free to follow my newsletter. Where I have various newsletters, on one where I write about my own content, one other one where I share content produced by other people and I recommend what to read and study, and a third one where I pick viral content. I find maybe viral post on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and I try to share what is really behind that news, what's really the truth behind that viral story. Then I'm also on other social media platforms, but LinkedIn is the one I use the most. But otherwise, you find me a little bit on social media. But again, it was a pleasure to be with you today.
No, I mean, even reading those little newsletters every week, it's part of the learning you should be doing. So,
yeah, why not? It's a way to remain content and to maybe learn sometimes something.
So thank you again, Stefania. Do you want to jump in again, or?
Yeah, let me also use this. Thank you, Fabio, as well, because it was really an inspiring conversation. I'm here alone in my room and I was smiling while listening to you because it was really pleasant. So thank you once more and hope to see you in other webinars with our students and
Real
participants as
pleasure.
well.
Real pleasure, and thank you and congratulations everyone for attending this event, this OPT event, because again, this fact that you are here is already something positive because it means you are at least curious about AI, which is very important today. Being curious is the very first step to become fluent about AI in a later stage. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you also, Riccardo. That was a very interesting conversation. And to all our participants, well, we thank you for being connected here with us today. Just a few reminders, that message on WhatsApp, and we'll be very glad to guide you throughout our educational offer. Feel free to connect with us at any time. And for the moment, we wish you a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because we know that many of you are connected from different angles of the world. And well, keep good learning and keep upskilling and upgrading yourself. So, well, see you in our next event. Stay tuned.